How can I access the recording of it?
About this, I'll put a message in the chat box because I know that there'll be many of you who have the same question for you. Sorry, what was your
Yeah,
name?
I'm Shashank.
Shashank, right. About the missing sessions, you do not have to worry about that. All the sessions will be uploaded to YouTube. And once they are uploaded, your course calendar will be updated with the links to the sessions. So you can access those sessions even if you miss them. No need to worry. Okay?
All right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Right, we have the past, present, future method. This is where we have to deal with a great deal of information or data. We have the problem, cost, solution method, which is ideal for business or policy presentations. And we have the IDA method, or the attention, interest, desire, action method, which is best suited for persuasive presentations. So think sales pitches or marketing presentations, right? So these were the four strategies that we had discussed. Today we move on to the second most important element of a presentation, that is the visual element, which we have in the form of slides. Now we are looking at what should go into a slide, how should information on slides be arranged, etc. So when we have, in order to make a presentation, the first step is to make your content. Then we prepare a slide deck, a deck of slides, just like a deck of cards. Some slides are absolutely necessary. You cannot omit them, okay? Such as the cover slide, where you have the title, where you identify yourself, and if you have any relevant images, those would also go on the cover slide. Then we have an overview slide. An overview slide quickly, in the form of a few bulleted points, describes what is going to be covered in this entire presentation, right? So in a way, the overview slide states the objectives of a presentation. Then we have text slides, and then we have some images slides, right? Textual slides and visual slides. These are added as per your need. In some cases, you might need more text slides than visual slides. In some cases, you might need more visual slides than text slides, right? In the case of a text slide, you should ensure that you use a legible font. What is a legible font? A font that your audiences can read. It should be readable. You should also make sure that your slide is not cluttered with text. You shouldn't just pack text into your slide. There should be minimal text on a slide. Speaking about visual slides, your pictures, whatever those pictures are, give me a second, I need to let some people in. Right. Whatever those pictures are, they should not be copyrighted pictures. They should be from the Creative Commons. Okay? It is also ideal to customize those pictures as per your need. Make it yours. Sometimes you have a couple of really useful icon like clip art images, which can be very, very helpful for slide design. But you can download them. They're not copyrighted, so you can download them. But you should also make it yours, customize them, edit them on your own, such that they serve your purposes of the presentation. Clear? Charts and graphs
Ma'am,
would
can
be
you please repeat that? I did not get it.
the ones about icons.
Ma'am, something about downloading it. I was not distracted.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We'll come to that again. We have a couple of, since this is a more visual element of your presentation, we have some example slides. While we are there, I'll tell you what I was talking about. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Charts and graphs will be very relevant to you
ma'am, what
as
is
yes.
copyright?
What is copyright? You know, there is something called an intellectual property. Like you create something out of your own creativity and then that is essentially your property. And so if
Ownership.
somebody, yes,
We can
and
ownership, we can say.
yes, and so if somebody uses the same thing without your permission or your consent, your legal consent, then you can sue them for it. You can say that this person is using my property, which is actually not yours to use, right? In a way, it is a kind of theft, a theft of intellectual property. That is what copyright refers to.
How can we understand that which is copyright and which is not copyright?
Creative Commons. There are images that are not copyrighted, images that are freely available. Those images are available in the Creative Commons, right? So you do not have to think of it as, something that is owned specifically by somebody. If you are in academia, for instance, you go through a very rigorous routine of citing and referencing any work that you use. Even in your presentation, it is always necessary to cite any works or data that you use so that anybody who is listening to you understands that it is all coming from a credible source and you're not misappropriating, so that you're not misappropriating anyone else's property, right? Right, charts and graphs are very much up your alley as data scientists. So wherever you need to visualize data, make sure to use charts and graphs. But once again, charts and graphs cannot be deployed just like that. You need to be careful about their formatting and the manner in which you present it. Section headers are relevant if you are discussing a topic which has multiple subsections under it. So, just to indicate to your audience, I am now talking about this. You add a small subheading there. That is a section header slide. Think of it as a subheading within a larger heading. Towards the end of your presentation, you need to add a summary slide so that whoever is listening to you or watching you can understand what should be taken away from this presentation in one quick glance. If you have any calls for action, if you're asking your audience to do something on the basis of this presentation, then that call for action should be present on this summary slide. The key message that you are trying to communicate through your presentation should also be present on the summary slide. Finally, you have the thank you slide so that nobody has any reservations about or ambiguity about whether or not the presentation has indeed ended. So you should be able to communicate that you are grateful to your audience for having been a patient listener, right? Now, for slide templates, we can use several software. So we have Prezi, we have SlidesGo, we have Google Slides, we have Slides Carnival, we have several others. I'm sure that you're aware of several others. You can use any of these. You can also just use plain old Microsoft PowerPoint. Ultimately, your choice of software is not that which is going to impact the quality of your slides. Rather, it is your choice of design, it is the choice of content, it is the manner of delivery, it is how you bring together information on the slide, right?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
The software which are going to use for the templates, are there specific uses of the specific kinds of templates? Like there are 4 types of websites there. So is there any special feature of that website that can be used in our uh, in any niche? For example, there is a specific type of thing that we can use only for Prezi.
I don't think that is the point that we are trying to get at here.
Yes.
The point is not that you use one website for any one purpose. The point is that you can get. There are so many students who are joining. I'm really sorry for stopping midway through. The point is that you can have templates of slides available to you
Yes, ma'am.
on many of these platforms, which you can customize as per your need. So at the end of the day, it is not the website or rather the software that is giving you a means of meeting your need. It is you yourself who is meeting your need by customizing the template that is available to you.
Okay, ma'am. So means all these softwares can be used in every niche according to us, the user.
Yes, it is the user's preference, it is the user's need.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, understood.
So, depending upon the kind of presentation that you want to make,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
would use or not use any of these.
Okay, ma'am.
Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. So when it comes to images, like we already discussed, use only from Creative Commons. If you are using a copyrighted image or if you are using someone else's study in your presentation, data taken from a secondary source in your presentation, you need to make sure that you're citing and referencing that work, that author, to always ensure that you're not taking the fruit of someone else's hard work. So, plagiarism in the case of academia and copyright violations in the case of anything, any kind of intellectual property is a very serious issue. So, we should always take care to avoid that. Do not plagiarize if you're using someone else's study, cite and reference that work, that author. If you're using an image that is copyrighted, make sure to cite that source. Okay? You can use graphics and smart art sparingly and where needed. It is not that you use it everywhere in your slides without any kind of restraint. Rather, you use it as per the need of the context. Be very aware, be very minimal, even when you are using graphics and smart art. Now, there are two kinds of fonts. There are several kinds of fonts. Primarily, there are two kinds of fonts. One second. Anushka, I will take your question just a second. Allow me to complete a few points, and then I'll take your question. Okay. There are sans serif fonts and serif fonts. In your slides, you can use a combination of sans serif fonts and serif fonts. But you should not use fonts that appear too informal, too comical, like Comic Sans. Your slides shouldn't look like it came straight out of a holy celebration. Okay? So you can use different colors. Once again, there should be some kind of logic to how you use colors on a slide. Ideally, you should have a color template that you're going with. Primarily, you use, let's say, 3 or 4 colors in this slide deck. And then you stick to that template, that color palette, right? And you make use of that color palette very creatively. You can use colors, but it shouldn't look like you're overusing colors. Always spend some time formatting your tables, cleaning up your texts, checking for any kind of typographic errors or punctuation errors, just to make sure that everything appears consistent in your slides and that everything appears professional in your presentation. Right. This is a serif font and this is a sans serif font. The only difference between a serif font and a sans serif font is this little decorative foot that you add at the end of a letter. As you can see, there is no decorative element in this sans serif font, whereas you can see a clear decorative element in the serif font. Now, the point of illustrating that there are two kinds of fonts is simply to show you that you do not have to stick to any one kind in your presentation. A serif font is particularly useful if you have running text. If there is a lot of text in the form of sentences, word after word after word, it's a little easier to differentiate where a word ends if you have a serif font. On the other hand, you can have a sans serif font if you so wish in titles and subtitles, etc. Right? Ideally, you should use a combination of serif and sans serif fonts. If you look at this font, it also indicates certain things about your presentation. This font equals a kind of formal nature. Times New Roman, which is almost always used in academic thesis and typing and any kind of presentations in relation to academia, it always signifies that this is the traditional professional font, right? So there are ways in which you can indicate certain messages with the help of fonts. By using a combination of serif fonts and sans serif fonts, you can have a very balanced feel to your slides. Visually, your presentation appears balanced when you use a combination of these two. Remember that serif fonts make reading a bit easier if you have running text. So you need to bear that in mind. Right. Anushka, question? Yes, go on. Anushka? Okay. Christina. Yes.
Actually, when we are using downloaded images in any presentation, can we use the images which have watermarks if we mention the source?
A watermark always indicates that there is some kind of a copyright there, right? So there are ways in which you can remove a watermark, obviously, right? So if you are using a presentation, a picture with a watermark in your presentation, that's not very nice. Either you take care, you be diligent enough to remove that watermark and customize the image to your need, or choose an image without a watermark.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Ma'am,
Christina, you have a question?
Creative Commons?
Creative Commons is that area, check, like that is a very general question. As people who have access to the internet, check what the Creative Commons are, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Christina, you have a question? Are you able to hear me, Christina? Do you have a question? Okay. I am not sure how to pronounce your name, Aparna, but can you ask your question?
Yes, that's Aparna, you can call me that.
Okay.
So, ma'am, I wanted to ask that when we use different fonts of text, I mean, like you said, we can use Georgia, Times New Roman. So, like, doesn't that look little off on a complete slide? Like, you actually understand that there's a shift of a font style. Doesn't that look little?
I wasn't implying that you should use all of these in a slide.
No,
You
no.
make a choice, right?
Okay, we make sure that there is only one font throughout it, or like maybe for headings we can use one and then text like one. Is that also something we can do?
Exactly. You can use a different font for, say, titles, subtitles, etc. And you can use a different font for your running text.
So is it right to think like this? Like you have your main headings and your subheadings in a specific font, and then your text in one font, and then your numerical tables and little stats of what you of some topic, let's say, then that could be in that sharp number kind of a thing. So should it be like that?
It can be like that. There is no should it be like that. The only thing that I want you to pay attention to is that whatever fonts you're using, use them consistently. Do not use one font for the title on one slide and another for the title on another slide. Okay, Christina, you can ask me a question.
Okay.
That's okay. I'll just finish clarifying with Aparna. Okay, you can then ask me a question. So yeah, you use your
So that was one doubt, and second one was how far is it good to present tables and text in a single slide? Like in this slide, how will it look if I present one side with some text and the other side with some tables?
That I can't tell you because I need to know other things like how big is the table? What is the table discussing? How many columns? Like how many rows? It has to, that has to make sense, right? So
Okay.
if it is a rather large table that you are trying to present on a slide, then ideally it is better to put it on a single slide. Otherwise, it would make your slide look very cluttered.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Just look at how it look at your slide after placing the table on the slide. Have a look at it. If you feel like there is sufficient white space on the slide even after you would add your text, then you can use it like that. If there isn't, if it looks very jammed together, then do not use it.
So can this be like a little trick kind of a thing when we are adding some pictures or tables in one single slide with text? So if in case you're finding little more white area, it means it's looking little pleasant and okayish. And
Exactly.
if not,
You
it
need
is
some
looking
white space.
little very jammed and like it's looking more like a collage if it is like that. If there is no white space lot.
Exactly. So the thing is, you shouldn't make your slide look very cluttered.
But mom, in lot of things that my father does, I have seen that he uses every corner of the slide to make sure that everything is in one slide.
Ideally, you do not do that. Ideally, you make sure that your audience's eyes travel easily through the slide,
Okay.
and that as far as possible, the audience is able to grasp what is most important on a slide at a single glance.
Okay. Mom, and how far is it okay to make number of slides? Because if we are trying to put lot of white space, then it'll consume more of number of slides, right? So, uh, it should be short, should be clear. So
Minimalism
how?
is key.
Ma'am,
Minimalism really
ma'am,
is key.
what if we
Shashank,
have,
one second.
if we have a slide limit?
If
Huh,
you
like,
have a slide limit, you work within that slide limit. A
Then
lot
it
of,
wouldn't
see,
be, it
specify
would
the
be,
conditions under which you're operating so that I can answer properly. Specify under what conditions you're operating.
ma'am, let's say I have to
you
present
say,
something in classroom.
Hmm.
Let's say I have to talk about integrations.
Okay.
So I have to introduce calculus first. Then I have to introduce the origin of it. Uh, what is it? I have to talk
Limits
about
and derivatives.
yes, limits, derivatives. I have to talk about continuity. I have to talk how
Differentiability.
to
Aparna,
differentiation.
okay? I want you to pay attention to what you are saying. I want to talk about. You're not necessarily saying, I want to put on a slide. Rather, you're saying, I want to talk about.
But if I
You're
have to talk when I'm presenting, I need to have something on my slide as well, right? So
I
I cannot
understand. I
just
understand. Yes, I understand that. But I am just giving you a hint as to how you can control the number of your slides.
see. There is lot of things if you have to talk about integrations, right? You have to bring all the way origin from limits, continuity, differentiation. Then what
That means you're not making a slide, you are actually making a book, right? Because
You have to make the bulls.
You need to be minimal both in terms of your content expectations as well as your visual expectations.
actually, ma'am, in this job, which this degree, for example, data science, we the main thing is that we have to make graphs and actually explain to the people which we are showing it. There's no such, I think, need to clutter the slide with text and bullet points.
We have to make it in short.
Yes, we have to
Let's
be
say
as
you are
minimalist as possible. I guess this Aparna.
exactly.
We
You
are
have
not
to
going to
be
make a book.
minimal. You have to be minimal, but I also understand Aparna's concern. She is asking us if there is so much to communicate, how am I going to be able to convey all of that in a limited number of slides? The answer there lies in the fact that you can delegate a lot of things to your delivery. You can balance how much of content is there on your slide and how much of content you're going to communicate. I want you to have confidence in yourself that you are people who are capable of finding that balance.
So can it be like that one, that your content is not actually having a lot of information, your slides, and what you're speaking delivers more of it? Like, let's say I just put bulletins and small definitions, and then I can emphasize on more points. Like, I give examples, then I use some other maybe board, a normal board, and then explain that this is this and this is this.
So it's
So
not
now you're
like
thinking creatively. Now you are thinking very, very creatively. That's a very commendable thing also, because you started with a query and now you are progressing to that stage where you are also thinking out of the box. That is ideally what you should be doing. So good going on that. And with that, we will go back to our presentation where we are looking side by side at two different kinds of tables, one of which is formatted and customized to the needs of the presenter, one of which is not. So this goes easy on the eyes, this does not. Therefore, take some time to format your tables as per your need. Now, when is a PowerPoint counterproductive? When do you have something that is known as death by PowerPoint? When does your own slide work against you? The first point that we should keep in mind is that we should not rely too much on our slides. Slides do not tell the story for us. If you have content to deliver, remember that you are the only person who can deliver that content. You cannot expect the slide to do your job for you. Slides can help you. But at the end of the day, the third most important element of a presentation is delivery. Second, do not dump too much of data or text on your slides. And third, you need to customize your slides as well as your speech based on whom you are talking to. Who is it that you're trying to communicate your ideas to? What kind of communication would be most effective with this particular group? Okay? So these are three things that you should never forget when you are working on a presentation.
Ma'am, can you repeat the point number 3?
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you ask the question once again?
Ma'am, can you repeat the point number 3?
Point number 3, you should be able to customize both your slides as well as your speech or your script, your delivery on the basis of what it says. What are you guys talking about? What request access? Okay, you're having a completely parallel conversation there. Okay, right. This just means that you're supposed to know your audience, know who you're talking to. If you are talking to, let's say, middle schoolers, you cannot use the same kind of delivery or the same kind of slides that you would use in front of investors. If you are talking to undergraduates, you cannot use the same kind of slides or the same kind of delivery as you would use in front of professors. So know your group, know your target group, know your audience. Customize your slides both visually and your content, both delivery-wise and script-wise, on the basis of whom it is that you're talking to. Clear?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Okay. Now we come to delivery. When you are trying to give a presentation, always be calm, composed, and confident. Right? Do not try to hurry through any presentation. If you are nervous, you need to bring that nervousness under control. It is only if you bring that nervousness under control that you'll be able to make an effective presentation. Before you present, you can of course rehearse. Either by yourself or in front of somebody, you can always rehearse. You should, whenever you're rehearsing, try to work with your slides, right? So you are trying to see if the manner in which you speak goes well with the information on your slides. If you feel like something is not syncing well, correct it, either on the slide or in your presentation. If something doesn't seem to sync, correct that. Practice more, ensure that. Oh, yes, Christina, you've been raising your hand so many times. What is it?
Ma'am, I am actually past 2 days. I'm not attend the class due to network connection, ma'am.
That is
What
okay.
I do,
That
ma'am?
is okay. The recorded sessions will be uploaded to YouTube and the links will be updated on your course calendar.
Ma'am, I'm not able to see in YouTube recorded video, ma'am.
They will upload it to YouTube. After uploading, the link will be updated on your course calendar.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And when it will be available?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, okay,
The
ma'am.
team works together. I'm not in charge of that. But once the video is uploaded, the link will be available in your course calendar. Right. You can keep your script or your presentation outline with you, but your presentation should not look as if you're reading out of a script. You use the script to refer to it whenever you need, so that you do not interrupt the continuity, you do not hamper the continuity of your presentation. Sometimes we can quickly forget some things. So you can keep the script near you, but you shouldn't give your audience the feeling that you're reading out of a script. That will not go down well with the audience. If you are using any kind of software, if you're using a platform, an online platform to present to make your presentation, make sure that you've all the technical stuff figured out well in advance, especially if you're not the kind of person who's very comfortable with technology. Make sure that you have it figured out. Now, it is always very important to make your audience feel as if you're talking to them. You're not just hurling information at them. You're talking to them, you're communicating to them. So make sure to have some kind of an eye contact. If you are using, let's say, a digital platform, you'll not be able to maintain eye contact. But you should be able to maintain that conversational flow to it. You should look at the camera if you have a video presentation, right? Dress as per the need. Dress professionally. Do not go into a presentation, even if it is an online presentation, do not go into it partially dressed. You need to breathe. You need to be calm. You need to ensure that you're enunciating your words properly. You need to speak slowly and clearly so that everybody can grasp what you are saying. Try not to exceed your allotted time. Now, this is something that I'm going to be breaking today because I was allowed into the presentation 10 minutes late. So I might need to take 5 extra minutes from you. Kindly pardon me for that. Right. Now, these are some opening and conclusion tips. These are not, hard and fast rules. I'm just trying to tell you, you can open like this. You can start your presentation like this. You could ask someone a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is the kind of question which you will answer, you will ask, and then you will answer that also, right? For example, why do we make presentations? If I ask such a question at the beginning of this presentation, then you can assume that it is a question that I will go on to answer, right? You can also state something interesting, something to grab their attention. An interesting tidbit of information which can bring your audience into the presentation. Maybe tell a small story, an anecdote. An anecdote is an incident. You can also quite simply state the purpose of your presentation. When you conclude, you can give them a summary of your key points. You can restate your key points. Restate is say it again. If there is any particular call for action involved here, for example, if you want your audience to act on something, you would include that in your conclusion, and then you would say, thank you very much for being such a patient audience. Right. After your presentation, you ask your audience if they have any questions or queries or clarifications that they need. And when you take questions, make sure to respond to the question. You don't just react to the question. Sometimes the questions can be in a tone that you don't appreciate very much. But you don't react to the tone, rather, you respond to the question. Understand the question. If it is a long question, take some time, break it down into chunks which you can process, and then address the concerns in that question. If there is something that you don't know the answer to, there is no shame in admitting that you do not currently know the answer to this. You can do some further research and get back to your audience. Most importantly, do not be provoked by any question. Always keep calm. Do not be provoked by any question that is thrown at you. There is another kind. Now, so far we have been dealing with presentations where you have adequate time to prepare a script, to prepare slides, to chart out your delivery, and then bring it all together and put it out in front of an audience. But there can be another kind of a delivery that is expected of you. Sometimes, as part of group discussions or interviews, you are asked to give a 2-minute argumentative speech. It can be very impromptu, without a great deal of time that is allowed to you for planning the structure of it. It can be very impromptu. You will be given an argumentative, debatable topic, and you'll have to make a short speech on it. If this is the kind of presentation that you are required to make, understand that we have so far been talking about a different kind of presentation entirely. The kind of presentation where you make a script, where you make slides, and then you bring them together in the form of a presentation. This is a different sort of a presentation entirely. It is impromptu. You do not have that much of time to plan out. In that case, what do you do? In this scenario, time is of the utmost importance. Okay, so what we do here is similar to the prep method. Position, reason, example, and position. It is similar to the prep method, but it is not the same as that. You start with a small introduction. Because it is a debatable or argumentative topic, you take a stand on the topic. Okay? This is my position on the topic. In that sense, it is similar to the prep method. Then you elaborate your key points. That is, you tell your audience very clearly why is it that you take this position in this particular topic. Then you can go on to address any potential counter arguments. That is, I take this position, but that doesn't mean that everybody has to take this position. Someone else might take a different position. There can be other arguments which do not agree with you. So you can address some of these counter arguments and then refute them. Refutation is where you say, I understand that there is such and such a counter argument, but I don't think that argument is very reasonable because of this reason, etc. And so I stick to my original position, which is the one that you started with. Okay? And that is how you conclude. I hope that is understood to all of you. If you do not have much time to plan out your presentation, you can make an effective 2-minute speech using this strategy. These are some examples of some debatable propositions. Cats make better pets than dogs. There's no answer to it. Like there's no one answer to it. There can only be positions regarding it. You can have opinions regarding it. So you take a stand and then you justify your stance. Security cameras invade our privacy and should be banned. There can be several positions regarding it. So you take one position, justify your stand, address any counter arguments that you can possibly think of, and then justify your stand once again. Right? Now, we have come to the end of our presentation. This is a recap quiz. What are the 3 major elements of a typical business presentation? Can somebody answer?
First of all, the data.
Yes.
Data regarding the business and etc. And second,
Data shouldn't be cluttered.
should not be cluttered. It should
You
not.
are not wrong. Neither of you is wrong. Okay? You're both correct. But this is not the answer that I am looking for, because in our presentation,
Ma'am,
yes.
the major thing is,
Ma'am,
the major thing is your confidence, the way you speak, the way you tell the all the things.
Yes, your confidence is a decisive element. Yes. What was it? Somebody wanted to say something. Kushan, you
Ma'am,
wanted to say something?
About the
yes,
product.
ma'am. In the business typical business presentation, we highlight the three major elements that when we open with a problem, then we tell the
Ma'am, message
cause,
slides
and
or
then we give the solution of that problem.
You're thinking at a higher level. Okay, I
It
understand
is the
what you're
main
saying.
message and the story one. That's one
ma'am,
of the
message slides
Yes,
or gameplay.
yes,
message. How we
yes.
deliver the content and the
Exactly,
PPTs.
extremely high level thinking. So it took you a little while to get to that very
Yeah, ma'am.
elemental answer. So, yes, there are three main points here, three main elements: the message or the story, the slides or the visual element, and then the delivery. That was all I was looking for. Yes,
Oh,
communication skills are important.
yes, ma'am.
Right.
This was the thing which you had told us in the starting of the
Exactly,
online class.
exactly.
Sorry, I
This
forgot.
is what I had. That is okay. That is okay. Don't worry about it. Now you see a slide in front of you here. Something is not right with this slide. Visually, that is not how you should arrange presentation on a slide. Now we are
The
going to
color of the
see
font.
how we can. Yes, the font is not very readable. There's a lot of text
And
Data
on
is
it.
cluttered.
there is no space
There
between the
is no
text.
white space. Yes.
The color
See, you've
combination of
learned
the font.
everything very well.
Data
Very
is
good.
cluttered.
Data is cluttered. On the other hand, when we come to this kind of an organization, there is sufficient white space. The data is divided into very easy to grasp chunks, and you have something that allows you to grasp the content.
Visualize.
Yes, personalized, it is customized, it is made specifically suited for this particular presentation. Very good. Now you understand what it is that we are talking about. Very good.
It's
One
visually
second.
appealing as well.
It is visually appealing. It is very much visually appealing. Now, I have two people who have raised their hands. Guys, you'll need to be fast. I'm just warning you. Yeah, go on. Christina, you have a question? Okay, Christina doesn't have a question. Nadeem, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. As you told us that during online presentation, we can take help from the written script. No one on the other side can get that you are reading literally. But what we will do in the offline presentation if we are giving? So it is a good gesture to take help from the written script in our hand, or we can just have to memorize all the content to tell.
No, do not memorize your content. No. Also, no, you're not looking and reading from the script. You're just refreshing your memory. You need to be sufficiently acquainted with the content of your presentation. You should be able to make your presentation without the help of a script, but it is handy to keep your script with you in case you forget, so that you do not, in the case of, there can be several things that, disrupt your presentation. You might forget some small point. So you do not want those disruptions. So in the case of such an event, you can refer to your script and refresh your memory and get back to your presentation. That is how you use a script. When you use a script,
Okay, ma'am.
whether offline or whether online, it shouldn't give your audience the feeling that you are reading off the script.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ma'am, adding to this, ma'am, I think that, for example, if we are giving a presentation offline, we could take the paper in which we have put the headings, headers of the different
Yes.
slides.
Yes, you can. Key points, keywords, etc. Yes, you can do that.
Ma'am,
Now, yes.
ma'am, the declaring of this activity is
Sorry.
declaring of the activity. Declaring of this activity.
This is not an activity. There is no deadline here. Don't worry.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Right. Now, this is another slide where we have a lot of text. Now, it looks slightly better than the last one, but let's see how it can be better presented. A slide with a lot of text can take a form other than that of bulleted points one after the other. So ideally, you structure your slide into a visual form which is appealing to your audience and also easy to
Yes, ma'am.
access.
This is looking very cool.
Yes, you can look at it and grasp the key points immediately. That is the
Yes.
purpose of this kind of an arrangement.
Better
Similarly,
than
yes, this is the same information. Once again, if you're using bulleted points, you can structure your information like this. I'm just giving you visual examples of design so that you have, something to imagine, something to keep in your mind when you make your own slides. Right. Same content, different sort of an arrangement. Yes.
Ma'am, my doubt is that in all your examples, there are some small vector icons which you are using to get the slide to look better. But in the real world, where we get that vector icon, it's difficult to find on
In
the
the
net
real
or
world,
something
you
like that.
can get them as clip art icons. In the real world, yes. In the real world, you can download these. They're not copyrighted images, but after you download them, make sure to customize them. Make sure to edit them and format them. And make sure that you're using them in such a way that they fit your slides, they fit your presentation, they serve your purpose. You don't just download and use update. Rather, you take the image, you work with it, you add it to your slide strategically. Okay? That is what we do in the real world, Nadeem. Yes. Somebody had a question?
Isn't, ma'am, the visual awareness is very important topic when presenting this slide?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. So now a quick question.
Which software do you use to make such slides?
I just use Microsoft PowerPoint, but I did not make these slides. So if you're asking me what software was used to make these slides, I cannot tell you. I'm really sorry. Okay? Now, consider the question that is in front of you. You are asked to give a presentation on whether working remotely is the better option for both employers and employees. Remember that this is a debatable topic. It doesn't have any one single answer. Which of the following modes of writing your script will you opt for? Debatable topic. Shreyank.
I'm the prep method.
Oh, yes, prep method. Very good. Very good. You've learned something. I'm very glad to hear that. You are the head of sponsorships for the annual college fest, and one of your biggest sponsors has backed out last minute, and now you find yourself short of funds. Which of the following modes of presentation would you opt for when you want to convene a meeting with your team members to resolve this? You're trying to resolve an issue.
Ma'am, B,
Problem
cause solution
Yes.
method.
Problem cause solution method. Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
Yes, ma'am.
think
Problem
of it
cause.
yes, problem cause solution. Think of it in a different way. Somebody has backed out, but you have someone else, you have some other sponsor on the line, and you need to persuade this sponsor to invest in your fest.
Past, present, future method.
Past, present, future method.
No, you need to
AIDA
persuade.
method.
Ma'am, AIDA method.
AIDA method. AIDA method. Yes, you use the AIDA method. Very good. You've been asked to give a presentation on the evolution of the telecommunication sector in India. Which of the following modes of presentation?
The
would
past, present, and future
Past,
method.
present,
Past,
future.
present, and future method. Past, present, and future method, because you need to work with a lot of information, a lot of data. Right. Therefore, past, present, and future method. Now, these are your main takeaways from this particular session. Preparation. Always prepare before your presentations. Yes.
Ma'am, could you, ma'am, give this the link of this presentation?
The PPT is already available to you. In our last class, I think it was Aparna Cha, if I'm not mistaken, who told us that all of these PPTs have already been uploaded to your supplementary contents section in your course calendar, I think. Can you check?
Yes,
ma'am, they are.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Aparna, you're here. Yes. You had helped out in our last session as well. Thank you very much. So, yeah. Is it possible to access the recording of this lecture? It is possible to access the recording of this lecture. The recording of this lecture will be uploaded to YouTube, and then the link will be updated on your course calendar. Now let me wind up, guys. You don't have to be a great designer to create great slides. You just have to be aware of the kind of message that you are trying to communicate to your audience, the kind of story that you are trying to tell, and whom it is that you are giving the presentation to. Know your audience. On the basis of all of these, you can craft a very effective presentation, even though you're not a great designer. I am by no means a great designer, but I need to constantly make slides and I need to constantly make presentations. So do not think that this is about your designing skills. Rather, it is just about knowing your content and knowing your audience. You make sure that your content is arranged in the most accessible manner on your slides so that your audience does not have a hard time understanding it. You need to be minimal both in terms of time and your content and your design. Okay? Allowing yourself a minimal presentation, minimal visual presence on the slide is also a cue. It also helps you because your audience gets everything that is on the slide. If you put a long sentence on a slide, your audience would understand maybe 2 or 3 keywords from that sentence. But if you are minimal with your points, if you use bulleted points effectively, if you structure your content like that, then your audience will get an overview of it very quickly. They'll be able to retain that information. Right. Now, to my last slide, which is my thank you slide. Thank you, everybody, for being such a patient audience. I'm sorry for having taken 5 extra minutes. If you have any further questions, please raise them. If you are in a hurry, we are done with this session. Please feel free to leave as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
welcome.
Ma'am,
You're
what
Thank
are
you,
the
ma'am.
3 elements of business
Thank you, ma'am.
presentation? Can you repeat?
The message or the story, the visuals or the slides, and the delivery.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, how can we sound calm and soothing like you?
I sound calm.
Same question, ma'am.
I don't think I sound calm and soothing. When it comes to presentations, if you are trying to ask me about how you control your voice, that is something that is very conscious. Even if you speak fast in your life, otherwise, when you're making a presentation, you control the pace at which you talk in the best interest of your audience, because you want your audience to understand. Keep them in mind. Even if you talk fast otherwise, consciously talk slow. Enunciate your words. Be clear in your speech. I can only give you that direction, okay? Always keep your audience in mind.
Ma'am,
Think about
ma'am, could you give me a few tasks to improve my skill about this?
About speaking?
Yes,
About
ma'am. About
yes.
delivery mainly. How can we speak like more engaging how can we engage our audience more by the voice?
Okay, all of you guys
Give me
have
some
seen.
task.
Oh, I will give you task. Calm down. Okay, all of you guys have seen small storybooks, right? Small storybooks for children.
So how to have
Yes,
mesmerizing voice like you? That's what the question they want to ask.
Okay, I don't have a
It's
mesmerizing voice.
natural,
I'm
ma'am,
just
a
trying to
beautiful
tell you
thing.
how you can control your voice, how you can make an effective presentation, about how you can improve your communication skills. That is what I'm talking about. So you have seen those small storybooks, right? Children's storybooks. You take those storybooks. Since you are trying to improve your English communication skills, you take an English storybook, right? And then you read out the story loudly. And always imagine that you're reading out to a small child, right? So you want to make sure that the story is communicated to them, not just effectively, but also interestingly. It might be a story about elephants and ants and ducks and swans or whatever. But you are trying to deliver that story not just effectively but also in a very engaging and interesting manner to a small child. Read the story aloud. This is very important. You need to be reading the story out aloud. Okay? Try doing this for a few days. And after
One
few
thing
days,
I need to ask. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
The communication class is already done.
What communication class? The workshop. Is that what you
Yes,
mean?
ma'am. The workshop.
The first 2 sessions of your workshop are done. The next session will be on next Tuesday.
Okay, ma'am. And the lectures.
And you'll have another one?
And the lecture PDFs are already uploaded?
Yes, in the supplementary contents section.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes,
what will be done when we present in offline mode and we make a grammatical mistake?
Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen.
What
See,
will be performed?
the only person who's bothered about your grammatical mistakes is you, not anybody else. So you need to learn to give presentations even if you make a grammatical error. Don't stop there. Don't pause there. Keep going. You need to overcome that reservation, that inhibition inside of you. Nothing will happen if you make a grammatical error.
Or ma'am, when we will forget something, the content, what will be
Sometimes
done?
you forget. You're also human, so you forget. You have to refer to your script very quickly and recollect what it was that you wanted to speak about,
But
and then carry on.
But ma'am, when we will hesitate.
Don't hesitate, no. That is what I'm trying to tell you. Practice, you will improve through practice. So maybe the first few times you hesitate. But I am telling you that nothing is going to happen even if you make a grammatical error, even if you forget a little bit, right? So a few times, even if you hesitate, you practice. You train yourself to refer to the next point and carry on. And after it, after maybe 2 or 3 times, you will notice that you are improving. That is all.
Yes.
Okay?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, all of you
Thank
have
you.
been keeping your arms raised for a really long time. Go on.
Ma'am, the next meeting in the calendar says that it has group discussions, so we got to prepare something for it.
No, you don't have to. It will be delivered in the same way. It will be delivered in the same way, but in these 2 sessions, we discussed presentation skills. On next Tuesdays and Thursdays session, in next Tuesdays and Thursdays sessions, we will discuss group discussions. That's all.
In the sense, we will be discussing in groups, or like you will teach us how to
No,
do a
just
proper
like
group
this.
discussion.
Primarily in a lecture mode, but I would very much appreciate some kind of, a conversational approach, a way in which if you are responsive, just like you are right now, I would like that very much. Other than that, I will not put you into groups and make you discuss in groups. No. Okay? Clear?
Ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
Hello?
Yes, Rohit. Yes, go on.
Yes, ma'am. I want to ask that what is the purpose of using this red dot on all the presentation pages?
Red dot, it's just a design element, right? So if you
Is it a watermark,
consistently
ma'am?
use sorry,
Is it a watermark?
it is not a watermark. No, it's not a watermark. This red dot is just a design element, right? So
In
I
every page
use
it is.
it is there. So if you use one design element consistently, now if you look at the rest of this slide, it's rather bare. There's nothing on it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're trying to achieve here is some sort of a balance between the white space and the colored content or the written textual area. If
Yes,
you
ma'am.
use any design element consistently in your slides, that will become a template. Think of it that way.
Yes, ma'am. Got it, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Who else? Somebody has raised their arm.
Ma'am, can I ask you
Ah,
about that?
yes, you
Ma'am,
can.
am unable to find the lecture transcripts on my dashboard, ma'am.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
I'm unable to find the PPT slides on my dashboard, ma'am.
So it is there in supplementary contents, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, ma'am. I've seen there, ma'am, but I'm unable to find this lecture's transcripts or slides.
Could you try refreshing it?
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
it's under that communication skill workshop. So there's a small link to download it there.
But there's nothing here. Only
Try
links are written.
try refreshing the page once.
In supplementary content in the at the last option is there. Communication skill workshop at the last.
No, it's not there. It's in
Yeah,
the
for me
supplementary
too,
content,
not
right?
there.
It's in
There
the
are only two
supplementary
options: lecture PPT and the lecture transcripts. These two options are available to me.
Yeah, the same here.
Okay, so the PPTs have been uploaded. Try refreshing the page and see whether you can find the PPTs. If you cannot, put a message on the forum or write to the support team. Yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome. I noticed that some of you're welcome. Yes, more questions?
Ma'am, I have a small question.
Yes, go on.
Ma'am, that you said that we should always, keep a little room for questions and queries of the audience.
Yes.
How far is it good to take it in between our presentation, like, or we ask them to just note down all your questions and then you can ask us in the end of the presentation, or is it more better that you clarify it time to time and so that they are also in a flow with our presentation and what we want to deliver?
In a business presentation, in a professional setting, you don't, let's imagine that your superior has a question. You don't have the option to tell them to note it down and ask me later, do you?
No.
No,
No, like
right.
now we stop you in between and then we're like, ma'am, we have this doubt. So how far is
That's
it all
okay.
right to, do that in a
Don't look at this as an ideal business or professional presentation. I told you, right? Presentations are context sensitive. This is an educational presentation. We are trying to recreate as far as possible the ambience of a classroom in this presentation.
So for now,
So,
presentation for me would be only till restricted to my classroom, to my friends, or maybe to my lecturers and all. So it's a good practice to take questions in between the presentation.
ideally, no. Ideally, you ask them to note it down and then towards the end of the presentation, you address those concerns. Ideally. But you don't always get a say in it. That is what I'm trying to point out to you. You don't always get to control that. If somebody who is superior to you needs to address something in between, you take that as well. If, on the other hand, like in this particular context, I am talking to students, and so it is necessary for me to know that you are with me in this presentation. So when you ask me a question, I do not necessarily think of it as an interruption. I think of it as a clarification that you need to receive right now so that you can be with me in this presentation. I think I take questions in between because that is also a priority.
Okay.
Okay,
So, ma'am,
answered?
is it more like that, when you're teaching a class, so they teachers keep, clarifying doubts every now and then. So it's ideally good for my stage. I'm talking that, when you present in a classroom kind of a thing. So it's kind of okay to take questions all the way in between. I'm not
It
talking about a
is.
business presentation kind of
Yes,
a thing.
it is.
So that they are also in a flow with what we are talking, and we also understand that they're listening, and it becomes more
Exactly.
interactive kind of a thing.
Yes, but the balance is it's a very subtle balance. I do understand that. You should take care to ensure that the questions do not derail your presentation. That is true. That is true. Yes.
Can we stop them? Is that a good practice? Then if there are too many questions, we can be like, please hold on, and then we can take it at the end of the presentation. How far is it
Sometimes
okay
you
to
just
say?
have to. Sometimes you don't have an option but to do that,
Okay.
right? So in those cases, we are forced to do that. So if possible, address those questions. If not, ask them to please hold on, and then we'll take them later.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Thank
But
you.
never be rude. Even
Okay.
when you're asking that, do not be rude. Be understanding. Always realize that they have a clarification, some sort of a clarification which is justified, you know?
Yes. Sometimes we
Yeah.
might be very fast, or it may go above
Yes,
their heads and all.
exactly. So think of it as a necessary clarification. That is all. Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, I'm unable to find the PP slides on the calendar too, ma'am.
I
If you're
have
not able
one
to,
question for
Yes,
Aparna.
I'm not,
1
my
second,
activity is
Suhail.
being denied.
Okay.
So, Vamshita, I would suggest that if you are not able to find these PPTs, that you write to the support team.
Okay.
Okay? And if that doesn't give you any kind of, a response, if you don't get any result even after that, then put a message on the forum.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Rohit, you'll need to hold on a second. Suhail, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. I had a question for Sister Aparna. Is she
Yes.
Okay.
there?
Yes, I am in the
Yeah, I checked for the thing you said. You have subscribed for 4 courses or how much? How many?
I've subscribed for 2 classes.
Which
Mathematics
is
and English. Mathematics and English.
English one, right?
Yeah.
I too have subscribed for that, and I clicked the link for the, I mean, communication skills PPTs, but it says you are not subscribed to this course. Going back to dashboard, it says like
It's
that.
just that maybe you
Guys,
have logged
we
out.
need to wind up. We need to wind up.
Okay,
Okay.
just this
So,
small thing. Okay.
okay.
It could be that
Rohit, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I wanted to ask that the profile picture in a meeting is very important. So I would like to ask that your profile picture, which is blue in color, it is appropriate in professional background or in every background?
I'm sorry?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask that a profile picture, which is the Google Meet profile picture,
Uh,
you have a light blue background, light blue
yes.
TP. So is
Yes.
it suitable for professional or we can use it anywhere?
I don't see how it would not be suitable in a context. But you do have a point about maybe not about the profile picture per se, because it is an absolutely neutral sort of a profile picture that I have.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you have a very childish sort of a profile picture, that can be an issue, profile picture wise. But then again, I don't think that is a make or break factor. Sometimes, here for instance, I would actually like to use my video, but occasionally I have a lot of connectivity issues when I switch on my video. So, in order to ensure that those kinds of issues do not, interfere with the presentation, I need to keep my video off and communicate to you via audio and PPT. So maybe sometimes if you have like a very business professional presentation, you will need to keep your video on. That is possible.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah. Suhail, are they gone? Right.
I think they're
They
gone.
seem to. Oh, okay. Right. Thank you, everybody, for your very patient
What
listening.
is PPE test on
Thank you, ma'am.
25
Thank you,
July?
ma'am, for this great slide.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. You're
Thank you,
welcome.
ma'am.
Right.
Thanks, ma'am.
Please,
What
you're
is
welcome. Please
what
feel
is
free to leave.
OPPE test?
Shubham, I do not understand you. Can you please repeat your question?
No, it's showing like the term grading document is showing that there is OPPE1 test on 21st July 2024. Online emote software.
I'm really sorry, I cannot understand your question. If you have a query, please post it on the forum. I'm not able to understand you. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.